Hello, Copic in the Craft Room friends. Michelle Houghton here. I have this set from Waffle Crafts Waffle Flower, Waffle Flower, that I have had a really long time. It's probably at least a year old, but I'm finally finding a few minutes here and there to do some coloring for fun. And my nails are going to run in and out of the shot, and they are all done up for the holidays. So I apologize for that in advance. I hope they're not too distracting. So I haven't made any plans. We are just coloring today. And on an image like this, I've done it on kind of a slimline card front. So it's kind of long. I don't know that I'm going to do all of this with you, but if anything, I'll get through a couple of the paintbrushes and maybe one of the critters, and then I might speed it up just because there's a lot going on here. And so I don't know that I'm going to get all of it done in a reasonable amount of time. And every once in a while, it's fun just to have some music playing and watch some silly coloring going on. With that section, I will make a point of, when I speed it up, I'll make a point of, you'll see the colors that I use. Actually, it usually shows up down here. That's where it usually works the best for me. So if you're looking for the marker color, I'll try to remember to set the lid up top, and then it'll pop up right as I start with a new color. So that's down in the left corner. If you're new to me, yeah, I do a lot of rambling when I do real-time coloring. So there you go. You're kind of stuck with it. I am going to start with a couple of the brushes. And the fun part about paintbrushes is these days they do come in kind of your whole gamut of, the handles are different colors, the bristles are different colors depending on what you're doing. I am not a paintbrush aficionado by any means, so we're going to go with some really basic ones and maybe do some fun colors on a few of the handles. I'm kind of looking through my stuff here, looking for specific things and having trouble finding them to start. Sorry. I'm actually going to use my neutral grays today. So I'm pulling those out of my bag to start. And I'm going to do a couple of the handles, some of the tops. Most of the time, the tops of the brush is done out of metal. So I think I'll do a few of those, and maybe I'll kind of focus on the first half of this image. That way I can also enlarge it so you can see a little better. Here we go. So I'm going to do a series of ends, and I want it to appear kind of silver. So I'm going to start with the N3, and I am going to bring kind of a bright white highlight down this right side. So I'm going to leave this literally bright white, and it's going to kind of line up as it goes down. Not perfectly, because we have surfaces that are dipping in and out. Then I'm going to use a very tiny touch, very tiny, of N5 all the way out on that left edge, because it's curving back away from me. Curving back away, curving back away, away, away. You can kind of squeeze it in on the other edge, but not all the way down the handle. All right, so back to N3. Kind of blend that in down that left-hand side a little bit. Trying to hold on. Just about lost it there. Trying to hold on to that white highlight. Then I'm going to come back with a colorless blender. I'm going to soften to that left side where we faded, and then I'm going to leave as sharp as I can. And I might have to do a little sharpening up here just because of this being so tight. So I'm going to let that sit for a second. I'm going to run down this right one again and crisp that highlight up on that edge. So let's see, N3, I think is what I'm going to want to do that with though. So N3 is going to come down, nice crisp edge. This is the one I really lost. There we go. Dunk, dunk. All right. So I can let that dry and come right down that neck one more time, and that probably will be more effective. I'm going to do the same thing on these next two brushes. So bringing that N3 in almost all the way. It feathers or kind of do that flick stroke to the right. And then on, all right, continuing, I'm going to do the same thing on this next brush. Kind of flicking, nice strong line down the other side, flick. All the way down. I'm going to leave this as a color band, and I could have debated on this one as well, but I think I'm going to leave that one more like as a some sort of other. Now I am going to also come in and hit this guy. All right, very small. N5, smaller amounts, very small, close in. And I'm not even gonna, if I do it, I'm only gonna do it right at that top portion. I just think that's not gonna come across the way I want it to. So since I struggled with it on the first one, tiny, okay. And then I'm gonna go all the way out. So I'm gonna do this funny little kind of V on the fan brush. Those are actually flattened when they crimp the metal to hold all those bristles. So this piece isn't like a cone shape. It's actually a flattened kind of triangle shape. So I'm bringing that dark right up through the center, and it's coming over into this little piece that the artist has given us. You could do a little down that edge, but honestly, I didn't really even touch there. So let's go ahead and smooth these three out. And as much as anything, it's right up in that top portion where we can really see those colors kind of interacting and see where that N5 stopped. So make sure you get that part smoothed out. Tiny bit over here. And then grab the colorless blender and push back to the left, not over to the right. We're just pushing back to the left. I'm going to go back and add color into that little band, so that is why I have left it. This one got pretty broad. I could actually pull that gray over a little bit further. And then right down the handle here into that little V. So I think a little further. There we go. Close that down a little bit because I do want it to look more silver than white, so get that closed in a bit, closer to what I was looking for. All right, the handles can be a variety of things. You'll see them in all different colors. I think I'm going to do some kind of deep red ones. This is an R39, and I'm going dark to light on this in particular because of the fact that I'm working with reds, and it's such a tiny space. So if I try to do a lot of blending on this, it's going to blow right out of that image. So I'd already put that highlight slightly off to the right on this. So I need to keep it over there as I work my way down the handle. Cylinder shape, curves back in both directions. This is an R46. It's like a brighter. I know it's supposed to be more desaturated, but to me it actually feels a little less desaturated. And then I'm gonna have to grab one more to go right down that little highlight area. Let's see. And some of this depends on how like light I want to make it. Should have tested these. Let's do the R43. There we go. So here's the deal. This is what I've been doing with reds lately. I'll come in a lot of colors actually, and hit that with my lightest. And if I feel like it's too light, right while that's wet, I can come with that mid-tone and go right across it really lightly. It still stays brighter, but it's lighter than the other area. Not sure, I think that was a little too much. So I'm gonna come back with my R43. I am really pushing the limits here. I'm gonna blow out in about 2 seconds of this paintbrush so we can all giggle when Michelle makes a mess. But I'm loving that combo though. So I am gonna come up and add that up here. I can't do as much because it's so much thinner there. So here we go. Here we go. So there was the R39. Here comes the R46. I'm having fun though recently really playing around with mixing my reds, the different saturations. Red is a color family to me that has this very, even though I feel like the saturation number really is pretty appropriate, like it actually matches what it's doing of adding gray. It's fun in that some of them have much more of a yellow base to them. They have that orangey feel. They lean more to that orange family versus the reds. And so playing around with adding some of those in to warm them up versus like this that has that very cool feel to it. I'm kind of doing the same pattern because I feel like that actually got me exactly where I wanted to go. So I'm literally going back and forth. That was just my mid-tone. I'm coming back with my light one to brighten that highlight just a little bit. Pushing a little bit those limits of what this is going to hold inside those lines, but tempting fate again. And then I came back in right at the very edge with the R39 to really push, in particular, that left edge all the way back. And I'm loving it. Okay, so there's 2 red brushes. And as I go and finish this image later, I could see definitely bringing that back in as one of my color combos. Let's see. I'm going to do some kind of lighter bristles. And typically, like if I have a set of these red handle ones, the bristles would all be the same. And then the other ones that have different handles, the bristles would be. Different manufacturers, different colored handles, and then similar materials for the bristles. Not thinking very clearly, sorry. Okay, that was E70. This is E71. I'm going to treat it just like hair because it is hair. So I'm going to do some flicking from both sides very, very quickly. On the fan brush, you actually have to fan those little flicks. So it's coming from the crimped metal and flicking outward. Get a few coming back in. Make sure to turn this as you need to, so your hand is going the right direction. Your flicks are following the shape of that brush. Come back with E74. Kind of all over the place. I should have done those other handles, I guess, but oh well. And then fan. And a couple from the top down. Not as many with the darker, just like we do on hairs, that as we get darker, we use less of that color, or tend to. Let's see, and since we're already there, and those are so quick, let's go ahead and pick a different color. Trying to think. That's super yellow. I think that's not quite where I want to go. That's even more so. I'm testing colors off to the side. Sorry, you can't see me doing that. Thinking though, I kind of like more of a golden. If I base it, this is really yellow. This is Y21, but I'm going to add earth tones on top of it. You could do bristles that are very dark gray and black. There's a whole series of brushes out there right now that are black bristles. So, I mean, you really can. You can play around with that quite a bit. I've got an E21. And then I'm going to add another E, I think E23 at least. Keep toning this down a bit. I like it with the red handle though. It's kind of fun. E23 is hiding. Doesn't want to play today. So light flicks from the top, from the bottom, fewer different lengths. So I would color this just like I color hair. So if you've never seen me color hair before, we've got fewer flicks with darker colors. We're coming from both edges, kind of inward, but notice I'm always starting back at the metal. All right. There we go. So those three. The paint itself is usually, this portion is white or lighter, and then you've got color where it says paint. I guess maybe it'd be better though on this one to do it actually opposite, just because then we could see that word. So let's do this. We're going to say this strip is white. So you can see that symbol a lot of times as well. The top, especially if this is an oil or a high-end acrylic, this little piece right here is actually metal because the tube itself is actually metal. And then it's going to get pretty dark because usually the caps often are black. So let's do this. Let's find our darker ends. This is an N 7 and an N9. Put that on a few of those. And what I did in order to keep that visible, those little dashes, is I actually did every other one over here to the left. And then underneath, I'm trying to leave that little tiny bit of light showing so we can see where that dips in. Okay. Softening some of that effect here. Back in. So N3, I think that's what that already was. Let's do a little N3 down on our strip. And a tiny bit of N5 way out to those corners. It's so wet and so small, I'm not needing to blend it at this point. And then we get to decide what color that is. So, should we make it? What would be fun? Because we've got 2 paint that eventually you'd have a second thing of paint you could do. I'm thinking this one might be blue-green. So maybe on this one, I'll do more of a yellow-red because I like those as well. Let's see. Get a good combo here. Kind of mix up our group and see what we think of this. Yeah, I'll keep going dark to light. So this is a YR18. It's a pretty dark yellow red as they go. And then this one obviously has been squished at least once because we've got some folds happening as we move down the tube. So I'm going to kind of accentuate those and add into them because we've got these little wrinkles. And I did run my images kind of off the page purposefully. So this is a YR04 versus the 14. I just thought that'd be kind of fun to brighten it up even further. And we can always push, this is actually blending really, really well. I tend to have really good luck with yellow reds blending together. Must be something about the yellow being in there because I know I do pretty good with yellow greens as well. Find a lot of great combinations that blend really easily. I can experiment around with those and know that I'm going to have some pretty good luck. And then I'm jumping back to YR12 for that last one. I could have gone even brighter with like more of a yellow, but I still wanted it to appear kind of in that yellow red family. So I think this is a better step for this one. Well, this is fun. And if you put the full tube on there, you could really play with that in and out, but I'm loving how this looks. And I think it's fun that I'm playing with the full length of that for the color versus just doing that little strip with color. That to me is fun to add in that way. Okay. We've got a couple other handles that I did not hit. So I am going to do these with a blue. And this has become kind of my night sky combination. So some of you might have seen this one before, but I've got a B39. It's really, really dark, like navy blue. This is a narrow handle, so you may or may not get to do a whole lot on both sides. I'm going to try. very light touch. This would be probably a good opportunity to open the other end of my marker and just run that little tiny corner of the nib down there. Might have been easier. Glutton for punishment. Let's see. And then I am literally running that B28 right down that highlight. It's too narrow to put a third color in. If I felt like this got too dark, what I would do is find a really light B, so like a B01, just barely single line, kind of right down there. It's going to act just like the colorless blender, and it's going to brighten up that highlight just a touch. But for this, because it's so narrow, and the fan brush is even narrower. I mean, like, seriously, you are not going to go dark to both sides. So I'm going to grab, in fact, I'm not even sure I'm going to get two colors in. I think I'm only going to do the dark from the left. And you could split that and do two colors, and maybe that would have been a better option, because I'm definitely going to lose this line right here. And then I'm going to take my B28 and run that down the length. And you could decide if you want to try to push a little tiny bit of a highlight back in there that's brighter. My concern is, yeah, I'm trying to put it more in a little bit, but I'm now losing my dark. I don't know on something that small if that matters. So anyways, so there's 4 of the brushes and the tube of paint. I hope I've been staying on mostly. I keep looking up and realizing I'm fading kind of lower left. Let's see, mouse. Should we do kind of a multicolored mouse? Would that be better? Would that be fun? So what if we do really light brown and then kind of a rusty brown? So what if for some of this little guy, we'll do, E40, and we'll put that on most of him. He's going to have one little paw and one ear that go quite a bit darker. This is E42. Make sure he gets a little bit of a round shape here. There we go. And then let's do this. I feel like I'm going to need, in order to make that work, we're going to have to go a little darker in a couple of these spots. So this is E43. All right, comes across, showing those little dips and bends. So the goal is to make it look like he's kind of has that shape to him, the in and out. So just seeing what we can do there. Right through the nose and right up top. And then 2 things. Inside his little ears, we're going to do E93. 2 or 3 little flicks on both of them, and then colorless blender. And then I've got E04 someday I will actually make it through recording a video without being interrupted. Today is not that day. E09 is going to be the companion color to the E04. And this is a combo that I use actually a ton. If you've watched me color at all, you'll know that this is a pair that I tend to use. I really like how they blend together, how they give kind of this really pretty, rusty earth tone. Red. I just like it. Just think it's really, really pretty. So I'm going to go back with my E40 right up against that edge. There we go. Yeah. Same down here. Liking that even better. Excellent. Okay. So here is half of that image, and I'll color up the second half if I can before I get this one out online, but you get the idea. Long cylinders, so I'm shading them that way. We've got hair that we can practice flicking on those tops, and then a couple fun little critters. And the paint tubes, to me, that's actually just as fun as anything. I might have to do a whole page of those because those are kind of fun to color on. So enjoy yourself. Coloring should be fun. If you're not, take a break. Come back to it later. Take a breath. Enjoy the process. Hey, thank you everybody for stopping by and checking in today. I hope you have a happy, colorful day.